In today's video, we're making something I call an afternoon mosaic. We'll take all of your scraps and turn them into an ungrouted framed piece. Whether you're a beachcomber, mudlarker, or an antiques shopper, today's project is easy, quick, and done in just a few hours. Let's get to it. Welcome back, and if you're new here, my name is Julie. And on this channel, we talk about tips, tricks, tools, adhesives, materials, and specific mosaic projects, all to shorten your learning curve when it comes to creating mosaic art. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, please consider subscribing. I'm calling today's project an afternoon mosaic because, quite frankly, you can start it and finish it in an afternoon, in one tiling session. It's a pique assiette mosaic, and you guys have let me know you love when I do pique assiette mosaic projects here on the channel, and this one is a fun one. So quickly, pique assiette means thief of plates in French, and it's taking plates, bowls, mugs, found objects, and putting them all together in the same mosaic. You may also hear it referred to as bits and pieces mosaic, shardware, and memoryware, and pretty much anything goes in this style of mosaic. I've done a number of videos here on the channel all about pique assiette mosaic, and I'll include links down below in the description so you can check them out. So if you're a beachcomber, I'm not, because my dermatologist told me I'm not, but if you're a beachcomber, if you're a mudlarker, love that word, mudlarker, you probably already have pieces that you can use in today's project. But if you're like me and you're not a beachcomber or a mudlarker, we can still make our pieces look worn. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So in today's video, I'll show you how to prep your substrate, create a design, so to speak, cut your pieces, wear them down or age them, adhere them to the substrate, and finally, how to finish off the piece, which in my opinion really makes a statement with this mosaic. We've got a lot to cover, so let's get started. The substrate I'm using is called an artist panel board. This is not a wrapped artist canvas at all, okay? This is a hard panel board. I love using this as a substrate. They come in so many sizes and you can alter the look of them. So besides just painting them, you could add something like paper to the back of it, like what you'd find in the scrapbooking section of your craft store. You can even distress it. You could add beads, glitter. The sky's the limit. If you are going to alter your panel board for your mosaic, you might want to consider doing that first. However, consider your mosaic. Also, you may not know what direction you want to go in yet with the panel board, and you can leave it blank until you're done with your mosaic. But my suggestion would be to do it first if you can. I, however, am going to leave mine white, untouched, not painted. I'm just going for a crisp, classic look. Next, you'll want to decide what shape would you like your mosaic area to be. Now, the sky's the limit on this one. I'm going for a rectangle to mimic the shape of the substrate, but you could make a square, circle, heart, star, animal shape. You get the idea. So once you've decided on the shape of your mosaic area, you'll want to start measuring out to make sure your outline is where you want it to be on the substrate. Whether that means you want your design centered, off-center, maybe down in a corner, etc. I'm centering mine on the substrate, so I measured out and made some general light pencil marks on the substrate. I'm not drawing lines on the substrate, just making some guidelines. Next, I started adhering painter's tape to the substrate along those guidelines. The painter's tape will not only help me stay within the live area of the mosaic, but also, for example, should I accidentally drop a piece of tesserae which has adhesive on it, it'll fall on the painter's tape and not the substrate. We'll talk more about adhesive options a little later in the video. Once I'm done taping up the substrate, I'll just go over the area to double check that the mosaic area is where I want it to be. And then I'm ready to get started with the tesserae. I'll include a list down below in the description for all of the substrates, tools, materials, adhesive, and frame that I'm using today in the video in case you'd like to make an ungrouted framed mosaic of your own. The tiling or the adhering of the pieces to the substrate is a fairly quick process, and I will show you how I did that a little later in the video. But more importantly, the thing that took the most time was the cutting, fitting, and grinding of each piece. But again, this mosaic did not take multiple tiling sessions. It was all done in a matter of a few hours, if that. So I got started going through my inventory of plates, bowls, mugs, and teacups. I knew I wanted to include pieces in pink, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple. And I would start with pink pieces at the top of my mosaic. You have so many design options when it comes to a mosaic like this. You could do all pastel pieces. Maybe you have all bright pieces. Maybe you want to use a certain size piece in your mosaic throughout. You could do all floral plates. Maybe you've got a bunch of fine china. You could do a sporadic mix of colors and just place them willy-nilly. All of these options are beautiful and apply to this project. Next, I started laying out the pieces kind of casually to get a good flow of colors and patterns going. I tried to disperse pieces so that maybe I didn't have two that looked the same next to each other. And I should add that no two pieces of tesserae are alike in my mosaic. Once I was happy with that, I started cutting pieces one by one and placing them on the substrate. I would hold the piece over the area where I wanted it to go and would use a permanent marker for where I would cut. I used my wheeled glass nippers exclusively to cut each of the pieces of tesserae. They worked perfectly. I was able to make fine cuts, which then made the grinding easier. I've done a video here on the channel all about how to use wheeled glass nippers in your mosaic, and I'll include a link down below in the description so you can check it out. Once I was done cutting and happy with the shape of a piece of tesserae, I then wanted to get rid of the pointed corners. I wanted all corners on the pieces to be rounded, not sharp whatsoever. Much like what you would find if you discovered a piece of pottery on the beach. So I used what's called a grinding stone to get this done. I've done a video here on the channel all about how to use a grinding stone for your tesserae, and I'll include a link down below in the description so you can check it out. Grinding stones are very inexpensive, and yet they do a tremendous job in getting the tesserae to a nice, smooth, finished shape. Each piece of tesserae was adjusted on a grinding stone. I not only smoothed out and rounded the corners, but I also ran the sides of each piece over the grinding stone. I'm going for a really worn look. Now, if you're using pieces that you found on the beach, or maybe they were buried in a garden, you most likely already have these worn corners. You've got the vintage worn thing down. However, in order for those pieces to fit within your mosaic shape, you still may need to do some cutting to your tesserae, and a grinding stone is going to help smooth things out to keep that old, worn consistency. I'm cutting and placing the tesserae in a way that they aren't touching, and yet the substrate can be seen minimally through the tesserae. Once I was done cutting all of the tesserae, I was ready to get started with adhering the pieces to the substrate. Before we get started with gluing down pieces to the substrate, I want to talk a minute about adhesives. We are very lucky with this project because we have a lot of options. And we like options, don't we, friends? Yes, we do. I'll begin with my choice, which is Weld Bond. It's a white glue that dries clear and has an amazing hold. And I'll tell you the reasons why I'm going with this particular adhesive. First off, I don't want the adhesive to show. I'm not grouting this piece, and I don't want any visual distractions like the adhesive showing through. I'm going to use a minimal amount of the weld bond so that it doesn't even ooze out from underneath each piece of tesserae. Another reason I'm using weld bond is that it will allow each piece of tesserae to be close to its actual thickness, meaning I wanted the finished mosaic to highlight the various thicknesses of the tesserae. I'm using china, I'm using ceramic, porcelain, I'm using a variety of things, and I want that to be obvious in my design. I recently had a comment here on the channel in a previous video asking if I ever tile a mosaic showing the actual thickness of the pieces. So not building them up to be at the same surface level, but letting their true thickness show through. And I do. I don't do it all that often, but there are times that I do. This project is perfect for that because I'm using that element as a design element. Otherwise, I've got a rectangle of tiled pieces that aren't grouted. Not that it's boring, but it's kind of boring. So I am using the actual thickness of my pieces, my tesserae, to play into the overall design of the piece. Now don't get me wrong, if that's not your thing, or if you are working with tesserae that are all the same thickness, it's not going to take away from your design. I'm just choosing to use the various thicknesses to my advantage in my piece. Okay, let's get back to some adhesive options. You could use thin set mortar. Personally, I think that's a little heavy duty for a project like this, but certainly if you have it, then use it. It will allow you to build up underneath your pieces so that everything looks like it's the same thickness and at the same surface level. Another option that will allow you to do that same thing is tile adhesive, or some manufacturers refer to it as mastic. You could also use epoxy sculpt, which is a clay-based adhesive. And yes, you guessed it. I recently did a video here on the channel all about how to use epoxy sculpt in your mosaic, and I'll include a link down below in the description so you can check it out. So you see there are a few different options as far as the adhesive is concerned, but I think you need to first think about a couple things. The first one is, do you want the adhesive to be seen? Sometimes things like mastic and thin set are kind of hard to contain. And once you raise your pieces up off the substrate, a shadow could be cast. Do you want something like that? That's personally not something I wanted, which is another reason why I went with the weld bond. But also, if you don't want the various heights of your tesserae to be obvious, then you might want to go with something like tile adhesive, epoxy sculpt, or thin set. Once your artist panel board is fully dry, it's time to put it in a frame. Now, because this is not a flat piece, we can't put it in a traditional frame with the glass in front of it. So we've got options because, again, we love our options, don't we? The first option would be to put it in a traditional picture frame. You'll want to keep that piece of glass out. You know, you can use that for a different project. It's really easy to cut with your nippers or your glass cutter. But you would just put your piece in the back of the frame the way you would backload a photo, let's say. Only you won't have that protective piece of glass over your mosaic. And traditional picture frames are great because they have the clips that will hold your piece in place, plus they always usually have hanging hardware. A second option is something called an open-backed frame. Now these are sort of bare bones, if you will. So there's no hanging hardware attached. There's no clips on the back to keep your mosaic in place. You would have to do all of that. You would need to add the hanging hardware. You would need to add the safeguard hooks. And a third option, which is the one I'm going with, is to use a shadow box frame. These are deeper frames. This one is a little thicker than 2.5 inches. And they come with a glass insert as well as the securing hardware on the back and hanging hardware. I chose a white frame so that it wouldn't take away from the mosaic. I really wanted a lot of white space with this piece. Now, shadow box frames come in all sorts of colors and materials, plus tons of sizes. So I backload the mosaic into the opening the same way I would if it was a picture or a print, and I secure the hardware on the back to keep the piece in place. And there you have it, a framed pique assiette ungrouted mosaic. It's ready to hang on the wall or place on a table or shelf. I'll include a list down below in the description for all of the substrates and frame and materials, tools, adhesives that I used in today's video in case you'd like to make an ungrouted mosaic of your own. Question of the day, let me know down in the comments if you've ever made an ungrouted pique assiette mosaic like the one I made today, or have you done an ungrouted piece using some other materials? I would love to hear. Thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up as it really does help my channel, and subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bell notification so you never miss a single upload, and let me know in the comments if there's something you'd like me to cover in a future video. I'll see you soon. Bye. Love when I put pique assiette. No. Nope. All put together on... I was doing so well. Girl. Moving right along. Is that good? And I'm going nowhere with this. Oh. For all the substates, yeah. I'll include a list of all the substates. Yeah, that's good. Pastel pieces, you could. And I'll include a list down because we have very many. I don't like that. I was going so well. Oh, always have what you use. Come on, let's do that again. Right now. Okay. Gosh, I didn't like that one either. Seriously? Look how cute. Kind of heavy, but Aren't all mosaics heavy? I mean, come on. If you're looking for more mosaic inspiration, you can check out one of these two videos. Until then, see ya. What I should have said was, for the question of the day, what shape would you make? Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear what shape you would make if you made one of these. I was going totally traditional. How cute would that be as a wedding gift for somebody? Do a heart and like colors of their house or something? So cute, so cute. Okay, I'm gonna go. Bye.